Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Delivering Content in an ABM World. I'm Andrew Freeman, I'm CEO of CRMT, and for those of you who don't know us, we are a marketing operations consultancy and a hybrid agency. We help global organizations with not only their sort of marketing efficiency, but also marketing success at scale. And this is the first in our series of webinars that aims to showcase technology within the marketing stack that we have seen deliver tremendous value within our own client base. And to that end, I'm very excited today to have Carrie Copeland from LookBookHQ with me. Before I get Carrie to introduce himself, just a reminder that we will have time at the end of this presentation for questions. So if you think of questions as Carrie is presenting, then please type them into the question box that you should see within the webinar system. And we'll try and cover as many of those within the hour as we can. Okay, Carrie, over to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Hi everybody, thank you for joining. And today we're going to be talking about engagement, content, and education in an ABM world and how to do that at scale. A little bit about me before we get started. It's nice to meet everybody. I have a marketing and sales automation background. I've got 10 plus years in the space. I'm a fellow marketer, a consultant working with clients just like you. Working very closely with all the major marketing automation platforms and CRMs, and really a focus on CRM integration and data, data-first marketing and data-first approach. I am a giant marketing nerd. Data makes me go, and love technology and staying in front of everything and trying to keep an eye on the horizon to see what's coming up next. I've recently relocated from Toronto to London. My wife has been transferred here, and we're just wrapping up our first year here in London. We really love it here. It's been a great experience so far. And fun fact about me, I just recently finished writing my first cookbook, which comes out in January. So it's been a busy year. All right, on to the guts here. What is the big deal about target accounts? We know we need to have them to be successful with ABM. We spend loads of time developing and curating the data to support them, the content to support them. But why is that important? It's your fastest path to profitable customers. This is what's brilliant. It's measured. It's effective. It shows what this type of engagement can accomplish. So why do we treat them like this? This is not how you deliver content. Offer, generate some interest, have them submit a form, download an asset, brick wall. This one and done approach is typical of drip nurture, makes it way too easy to disengage from our marketing. We now hope we can get them back to engage with the next thing we need them to see. But following this method, it is almost impossible to get a prospect to spend time with the 6 to 10 pieces of content that they really need to consume to understand and make the right buying choice. We're actually getting in the way of forward momentum, forward motion, and we wonder why it takes so long for anybody to progress through the buyer's journey. We really waste that momentum, create a buyer response to an offer, and effectively block any self-nurture or education from happening, which hurts both the prospect and our company. We really do need to do a better job here. Our customers deserve it and frankly command it. If they don't get it from you, they're going to go look in and get it from somebody else or somewhere else. Just think about the flow if somebody goes through here. Once they hit done and they're forced to go back and start researching again, the chance of them coming back to you and finding that next piece of content is pretty low. And it increases the risk of them finding the content from somebody else. And why are these the way that we still measure engagement? Clicks, downloads, form submits. That's how we measure engagement today. And these are binary metrics, really. They tell us if something happened, but not what happened. It's past the click. We want to know how and when and what type of engagement we get. This has been a measurement of success for many, many years. All of us have been using these as success metrics, boosting our lead scoring models, determining whether or not it's a sales-ready lead. but it's not an effective measurement of engagement, and it really doesn't help with qualification. It pretty much leaves us in the dark here, unable to determine whether or not somebody is qualified and sales ready. And when it comes to ABM, we're taking a similar approach to target accounts with our ABM strategy. Same channels, same offers, same strategies, and more often than not, we're going to get the same results. Our goal is to use content to educate our buyers, warm them up, get them sales ready. We develop our target accounts and related contacts. We develop content specifically for them, personalized for them, in an attempt to educate them. And that is the real goal, to educate our buyers, help them answer their most pressing questions about our products and services. And we do this in an attempt to make them more qualified and have a discussion with sales. That's the ultimate goal here, is an impact to revenue. No B2B buyers kicking around on your website just for fun on their lunch break. They're likely to have been asked to solve a problem or purchase a product or for the service, or product or service for the organization. And they want to get that information quickly. I'm sure this isn't what they want to be doing with their time. But they need to come to a decision, and they do need to move forward. And marketing has become clicks and slow development of the content experience and slow delivery of content. Even though our goal is educating buyers, many of us have just become focused with the click. In pursuit of our full funnel, we're more worried about how to fill it and less concerned with what's in it. We aren't focused on qualification as the goal, and certainly not as much as we should be. Because of that, being qualified has started to mean less and less over time. We fill our funnels with poorly qualified demands, and we're surprised when a pathetic 4% of MQLs convert and eventually close. Why doesn't qualified mean something important in the funnel like it does in other areas? I mean, look at this guy here. You wouldn't jump on a plane with a pilot that wasn't qualified to fly it. Yet here we are filling our funnel with unqualified leads. The big problem is around the metrics that we use to measure qualification. They're very shallow. Clicks, form fills, downloads. Again, they don't tell you how truly educated and qualified a buyer is. You know they clicked, yes, for sure. But you don't know if they watched or read or how much they consumed. You want to know what their brains did. You have no idea if a buyer is better educated or ready to talk to sales than before they clicked. You need to know if they actually consume the content. Currently, everybody can appear to look the same. They both clicked, but that may be the only thing that makes them similar. How they consume the content is what separates them. We need to rethink how we deliver content. Here's an example. This is Steve. Steve is a prospect from Marty's company. Marty has a sponsored ad on LinkedIn and wants to share his new report. Marty's made one simple change to the way he delivers his content. He made it easier for Steve and all of his colleagues to discover all the content they need to make a buying decision faster. Now, when Steve clicks on one of Marty's offers, he gets access to as much content as he can consume in a single session and no more dead ends. Once Marty knows what buyers like Steve need to learn and become more sales ready, he can curate the content he wants them to see, and he can use content from anywhere. His own content, third-party content, earned media, reviews, just about anything that he needs to move the buyers through the next phase of their buying process. Now, speaking of new accounts, and personalized content journeys aren't just for known leads, and we'll touch on this a bit later on. You can provide them for anonymous visitors as well, using powerful algorithms that recommend the most relevant next content asset based on historical engagement, content metadata, journey stage, as well as account-level data sets like IP address or domain. I mean, just looking at the example here, we've got 3 visitors. They all come in through the same content offer, but they may not necessarily be the same type of buyer, may not be the same industry, for example. We can personalize content journeys to serve up the assets that are relevant to each one of these visitors and make sure that it's aligned with their needs, and looking at engagement data, and making sure that what we're serving up next will move them down the buyer's journey, not hit the wall or make them go backwards. Now, Marty was making it easy for Steve and other buyers to buy. He was also collecting a ton of data about the activity after the click. Looking at this example here, we've got Steve and Sally, and Steve and Sally have both consumed the first two assets. Now they're very, very different in terms of engagement. We've got Steve that's pretty engaged here. He's got 4 minutes and 12 seconds versus Sally's 2 seconds. And the next one, the Forrester paper, we've got a 3 minute and 46 second engagement versus 4 seconds. Now, using binary metrics today and looking at maybe how this might impact your lead score, both of these engagements look the same. They both landed on the asset, but Sally just bounced right away. Now, if we were to impact lead score, they would both be the same. They'd be qualified. They would be viewed as being similarly qualified. And when sales receives these leads, they think that both of these leads have consumed the content, so they may try to frame a discussion or have a sales pitch around these. And Sally's not going to know why the sales guy is calling, and she has no idea what he's talking about from that Forrester paper. The activity separates a serious buyer like Steve from a casual browser like Sally. While he can only spend a few hours a week reviewing his analytics, we're all pulled in many directions, but he needs to stay on top of fast-moving buyers like Steve. And he does this with automatic email alerts that are triggered when somebody views more than X or more than a certain amount of content in a single session. The same alerts can be sent to sales so they can strike when the iron's hot, following up right away with buyers like Steve who are currently active in their buying process. And sales loves that. And he wants to see how his target accounts are lighting up as they engage with content. He can see how much his key accounts have engaged with this content, and using this data, he can take action on these key accounts in real time or uncover new accounts that he didn't even know were on his radar. Looking at a breakdown here, we get some really good information. We get the account, which is pulled from the IP, or if it's a known account, it'll populate. We can tell which content experience they went down, the number of visitors from that account, those that binged, and binging is determined by how much content. And maybe it's 30 seconds on a video and 2 minutes on a white paper, the number of assets, whatever it might be, but determining what a binge is to inflate score and understand who has true engagement here. Total views and sessions, it all rolls up to the account level. And you can start to see when your target accounts are active. Even though we may not necessarily know who the visitors are in an anonymous traffic world, we know that Dyson's got 122 visitors. We're probably a pretty good fit here. We should be considering some form of outreach. This information definitely needs to get to sales, and they need to action on it. It's true engagement, it's measurable, and it's available. Intelligent content delivery aims to address two big problems that most marketers have. Sure, you need to get them to click, but you also need to get them to read. So keeping your target accounts engaged by allowing them to self-nurture is a huge step in the right direction. It makes it harder for buyers to disengage from your marketing, and it serves more of the information they need when they need it, and it helps to educate them faster. If you think about push nurture versus self-nurture, if you need to have me consume 6 to 10 pieces of content in order to educate me into a position where I feel confident that I'm ready to buy, a self-nurture, those 10 pieces of content can be consumed in a matter of an hour in a very engaged session. If you line this up against email nurture, for example, you're looking at, if you have a 2-week cadence, at least 12 to 20 weeks to have somebody consume that content. That's not the way that B2B buyers want to consume content. If they're ready to engage and they want the information, they want it now, and this is how they want to do it. The second thing is letting marketers and in turn sales know when their buyers are engaged. Not just clicking and filling out forms, but really engaging with content. The click quality, if you will, is letting us understand whether or not the marketing was consumed. A click and bounce versus a click and read makes a really big difference. And it really starts with marketing, looking at their qualification and using this information to update their lead scoring models with better, rich data, and ultimately maybe reducing the amount of leads going to sales, but increasing the quality and validating that quality by using engagement metrics to do so. Here's a little look at how Lookbook impacts the funnel at all stages. From a content engagement perspective, Thomson Reuters had a 487% increase in content engagement. That's almost directly as a result of moving away from one and done to content binging. Careo converted their MQLs to SALs 2.3 times faster with Lookbook. Rockwell, and we have some more details on them in a moment, doubled their conversion rate from MQL to SQL. TIBCO saw lifts all the way across the funnel. 92% increase in SQL, 3 times increase in the number of sales qualified opportunities. And in general, lead velocity increased by 40%. Demand-based saw a 50% increase in close rates from prospects who binged on content. I've got 2 customer examples here that will help show some of the problems that organizations have and how they solve those and the impacts and results that can come from that. Now, Rockwell found that nurture streams, and I'm sure we can all appreciate this, can take a very long time to set up. And also, in terms of timing, it takes a very long time for contacts to flow through. We just talked about 12 to 20 weeks versus a content experience of 12 to 20 minutes. And these contacts take a long time to flow through. And if you add that time to the sales cycle in general, all you're doing is lengthening it. They had a term that we really liked called, they were effectively creating MNSQL, so marketing not so qualified leads. And that's a problem. I mean, you think you've got qualified leads because the metrics and your lead scores indicate you've got it. But really, when you look at true engagement or the sales calls are starting to happen, you find out that they really didn't consume that content. They just look like they did. And they solved this by launching campaigns in days rather than months by using content experiences. It allows them also to scale their reach. Their campaigns can be targeted broadly or narrow right down to the account level. The results here are leads are more qualified and more true MQLs are created. Looking at the results, the numbers are pretty strong. 3 times ROI, 2 times MQL to SQL conversion, and $248 million in pipeline. Our next example here is TIBCO. They had a traditional nurture program that wasn't creating enough quality MQLs. And they solved this by the kind of underlying theme here is letting your prospects self-nurture and binge content on their own time when they are engaged and when it makes sense for them. The results here are pretty solid as well. 92% increase in SQLs, a 3 times increase in opportunities from engaged leads, and a 40% overall velocity through the pipe. Now, those are just some stories of our customers and their success, but really we want to talk about how we can make changes today that can help with our ABM content delivery. The first thing that we should be addressing is personalization and personalizing your content. We do a pretty good job today in order to get these clicks of personalizing the door, the ad, sponsored banner, whatever it might be, the thing that piques the interest in the beginning. But we don't personalize the entire journey. I mean, many marketers start their ABM strategy by personalizing the door, serving up a targeted ad, like I said. And the idea here is to try to deliver as much relevant content to that buyer as possible while you have their attention. And what you're seeing on the screen here is a content experience from Lookbook, but it doesn't have to be Lookbook. You can do this with the tools you have today. Think about what happens after somebody submits a form. A lot of us will thank them on a confirmation page and then redirect them to the home page, or send a confirmation email with a link to the asset and thank them for downloading it. Both of those are opportunities to take the information that you've got. They've come in through a specific offer. They've submitted a form. They've given you information. Suggesting the next best piece of content, there's an opportunity to do it in both positions. So attach it to an email. Thank you for downloading this. Here's another piece of content that we think might be useful for you. On the confirmation page, redirecting them to another asset or to your resource center. Keeping the content journey going is a really, really important step and moves away from one and done. And I think if you're doing email marketing today or you're spending any money on paid media, you've got an opportunity to keep this going. The next thing is nurturing. It's following in the same vein here. We want to nurture known contacts as well as anonymous users. I mean, we're all pretty good at getting in front of and nurturing our known database. If someone's in your database, then you can send them an email every Thursday or whenever you believe is the right time. And when it was them who opened or clicked the email. I think what we're not so good at doing here is nurturing anonymous users. Getting people to click on things is really, really hard. And we want to take that opportunity from early stage awareness, that initial click, all the way through to potentially becoming a qualified opportunity. So even if you're not putting a form up to capture conversion at these early stage pieces of content, keeping them going, serving up the next piece of content as they move through awareness to consideration to decision, that can be achieved even in an anonymous perspective. If you're not gating your forms or not gating your content, just continuing to educate them while you've got that opportunity is a huge step in the right direction. And then if you layer that on top of your traditional nurturing, which we've got on the right-hand side here, if the content track to become a qualified buyer or the education path is infographic to white paper to third-party report to ebook to blog, in a perfect world, someone's going to go through and blitz all 5 pieces of content, and that's great. The education path has been done. Marketing has met their needs. But that's not obviously always what happens. Somebody goes through a single piece of content or 2, and then they bounce. And this is an opportunity for you to leverage your traditional nurturing path, which is to your known visitors, if you've got them, to send an email to drop them back into that content journey. We want to send an email about third-party report so that they start on the content experience again and continue to consume content. And then maybe they finish. So instead of sending 5 emails, you're able to deliver 1 email that re-engaged them into the content, and you nurtured them while they were on the site. The last thing is transforming. And the problem we have today is that we treat clicks like they actually mean something. The fact that consumption of content, not just clicking on it, is the #1 indicator of sales readiness. I mean, looking at that same content experience here, we've got a prospect on the top and a prospect on the bottom. Again, in a binary world, we've got, these leads are going to look identical. They have hit all of these pages. White paper for 1 second. Third-party report for 2 seconds. It goes on. Total engagement, 8 seconds. Top guide, 14 minutes, 6 minutes, 21, 7, and 5 for a total of 53 minutes. In a binary world, your lead score will be the same for both of these, but your close rates will be nowhere near the same. One of these is sales ready, and the other is ready for nurturing, and a lot more of it. And we just don't have the ability to tell that today with our typical marketing automation reports and the insight that we get from our tracking scripts. It really doesn't give us this engagement data. And if we've done everything else and you've developed hyper-targeted account lists and you've created targeted content and you've served targeted ads and personalized your website, don't you want to know if it's working? I think it's time for qualification to mean something in B2B marketing. It's time to look beyond clicks and form fills and start measuring content consumption as the key marketing metric. When you're in the throes of researching a big ticket item in your personal life, do you just click on stuff, or do you pore over the information, spending significant time conducting your research? Well, B2B buyers are no different, and yet the consumption of content isn't a core KPI for marketers today. There's a couple of resources here where we pulled some of our content together. I think there's some really good stuff here around ABM. There's some ebooks that were just published that are great for your 2018 planning. And we think they're great, and we'd love to share them with you. And so as a follow-up, we'll be sharing this as well. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kerry. We've got a number of questions coming in. Just a reminder to type your questions into the chat box if you want to get them in. We've got plenty of time to answer questions, so we should be able to get through the ones I've got so far. First question, Kerry. When you walk into a customer who hasn't got Lookbook, again, for them looking to get into that ABM world, what typically do you see them doing in terms of trying to measure engagement? I think what we see from our side, I guess, is people trying to use lead scoring, and they don't get that granularity that they need down to content level. But it's interesting to see what you find in the field.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a challenge to get all of this engagement data in one spot without a dedicated platform. But there's a couple areas that you can focus on. Within your marketing automation platform, you can seek to determine some information around time on page and time on asset. While that might not necessarily be available on a personalized level or tracked to an individual content, you will get a sense of how your content's performing. A page that has an average viewing time of 90 seconds versus 3 seconds should give you an idea of how your content's performing, even if it's not necessarily tied to an individual. It should give you a perspective on, is our content effective? Is it driving engagement? Another way to do this would be capturing video from YouTube. A lot of the main marketing automation vendors have integrations with YouTube, and it can share back total view time of particular videos. Again, maybe not necessarily down to the personal level, but you'll get a sense of how your video is performing. You spend a lot of time and a lot of money developing this content, and I think it's important to know if it's performing, how long you're keeping the attention of your leads. And another place to do it is an event like we're doing right now in a webinar. There's a lot of event modules that can be integrated with the marketing automation platforms and CRMs today that will give you the attendee data down to how long, if somebody stayed for 5 minutes or saw the whole thing, how many questions did they post, were they participating in the polls. That's engagement data, and that will help you use that information to qualify. And you can feed all of this into a lead scoring program to raise the lead scores with actual true engagement.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think I can. There's a few questions around integration and how that engagement data that Lookbook can capture can be used in the rest of the marketing stack. Maybe you can talk a bit about how Lookbook integrates into maybe existing marketing automation systems and CRM systems.
Yeah, sure. So the basic way to integrate with the majority of the marketing automation platforms is actually using a form submission. The reason why we've decided to go that route is there's quite a bit of power associated to post-processing in Eloquent Marketo, for example, that allow you to boost your lead score based on the information that's coming in. You can add people to specific nurture programs and nurture tracks if they download a specific piece of content. And so the integration is actually very, very quick. We have been successful at doing deployments, including the integration into the map in a single day, because the form submission is so lightweight and it doesn't require a ton of involvement from IT. We can stand this up pretty quickly and start to drive value really quickly. For those systems and third-party data warehouses and BI tools where you maybe want to get some of this engagement data out, we do have a public API that was just recently released, and that opens up a wide array of applications and areas in which we can integrate.
Okay, and I guess once you do integrate with let's say marketing automation, how do you then combine the insight you get from Lookbook with, say, your current lead scoring system that you might have in play in your marketing automation?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, we would still be using your email metrics, I'm sure, which is what most of you are using for your engagement scores today. But in terms of page views and high-value content where you may be associating higher value scores, you will be able to set different thresholds. So instead of giving 10 points for high-value content views, for every 30 seconds on that content view, you could be giving a point out of 10. So while it may reduce the score, it will give you better granularity. You'll be able to see people that got 10 consume the whole content or watch the whole video. People that only stuck around for 2 or 3 seconds would get no score or 1 point out of 10 assigned to it. And while that seems like it's bringing your score down, and it certainly is, it's making it more accurate, and it is taking this true engagement data and giving you a real qualification rather than just, I need to get as many A1s as possible, I need to get A2s and my threshold. Well, if your A1s are full of casual clickers and people that are kicking the tires and watching videos for a matter of seconds, I think it's more important to have that real data integrated with lead scoring rather than just superficial awarding of points. If you've done something, you get the maximum amount of points.
Okay, and can it be used on the Salesforce side of things as well? Can it help sales guys know when to engage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of the activity that is being written to your CRM, we are able to augment web page visits or asset viewed or PDF downloaded with the actual engagement data itself. Rather than viewed PDF, you can say viewed PDF for 3 minutes. And if we're able to, using machine learning and reading, determine what the average reading length is of a particular asset or how long it takes to watch a video is probably easy. But we have figured that out. So in terms of engagement completion, I think knowing whether somebody spent 10 seconds on a white paper that we know takes 7 minutes to read versus somebody who takes 5 minutes to read, in terms of how you shape that sales conversation or how you take that approach in terms of your pre-call research, knowing that you can speak about an asset and knowing that it's been engaged certainly give you an advantage of continuing that conversation or driving on some of the value that's in your content.
Brilliant. Okay, and I think you might have alluded to the answer to this question a bit earlier, but can you give us an idea of what an implementation of Lookbook looks like, maybe in terms of sort of what people need to be thinking about before they engage, and also how long, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we really drive to get our customers up and running as quickly as possible. We have something called the bullet train, which is a single day deployment or very soon after, and the idea is to come on site, or you can do it remotely. Talk about, grab your content, load it into the system, and launch your first content experiences within a day. With a lot of software deployments, trying to get everybody ready and prepared for them. And if you think about back in the day to an Eloqua Smart Start, if any of you can remember those, it was a tremendous amount of involvement from a variety of different resources. It was too much, too fast, no adoption. Everything was so fast and people's heads were spinning, but you were in there and you needed to get the deployment done. We've definitely moved away from that, and it's very much trying to get you up and running quickly. If you've got a lot of content, it can take some time to get it a bit organized, but we've got some machine learning algorithms that will ingest all of your content, help us understand, tag it, figure out which stage of the funnel it is, and really in dragging and dropping to create a content experience couldn't be easier. It's a very intuitive user interface. If you're working in Eloqua or Marketo, it's much easier to use than that. And it's a quick launch. You can start to see value and change your content experiences in a matter of a week.
And you mentioned Eloqua and Marketo. Are they the main two marketing automation systems, or are there others?
They are. Pardot, ExactTarget are also applicable as well. There's other third-party systems and marketing automation platforms, or even if you don't happen to have a marketing automation system or platform and you only have CRM, or you don't have either and you need a tool to help manage your content, it can stand alone, and it can also through APIs and form submissions. I don't think there's too many systems out there that we can't connect to. If it's a modern system that has API connection, our brilliant team of engineers will be able to sort that out, and we can drive value across just about any platform.
And what about the website side of things? Any dependency on CMSs or web technology? Or?
No, it's pretty much anything goes. We do cross new ones as we come across it, and our solution architects are pretty strong, taking from those previous learning experiences with different platforms, and we can make it work, and it should be a relatively painless thing. One thing I will say is with software, trying to bring it in and involving IT with the implementation for some of these things can be a real blocker, especially if you don't get ahead of that and you don't do your technical change management up front, and you buy something and you expect IT to just jump on it and deploy it. We all know that can go terribly, terribly wrong if they're not brought to the conversations at the beginning. The beauty of some of the integrations that we have, if it's one of these more popular maps or Salesforce or CRM, is that we probably still want to bring IT into the phase just so they don't feel left out, but the integration itself doesn't necessarily require authentications. By leveraging that form integration, it really allows us to get information in really, really quickly, and it's something that marketing can configure and set up, and so it doesn't require a huge breadth of people and experiences and stakeholders. This is something marketing can own from a technology perspective. They're paying for it, they might as well own it, and it's pretty agile in its approach, so we like to think it's a marketing-first deployment approach.
And I think you mentioned in the presentation about the anonymous world. Before we know a known contact, I think everyone that uses marketing automation is fully aware of how we can nurture in the known world. But how does Lookbook help in that circumstance when we're trying to get people into our funnel? We don't yet know who they are, in terms of that data capture point and how we can get them into our MA system in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, we have different customers using different approaches here. The ability to gate or ungate content is very, very easily done in Lookbook. Similarly is progressive profiling. We look at progressive profiling and we think of fair exchange of information. So if I've given you a couple pieces of content, I'm probably going to pop up a form that says, hey, we'd love to keep you in the loop on our content. Give us your email address. I mean, from turning a anonymous to a known visitor, that's the key conversion point that we're looking for. But it doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't have to be a hard gate. It can be a soft gate. It can occur after a certain amount of time on a particular asset, a certain amount of time across multiple assets, just a certain number of assets in general. The flexibility that you have to determine when and when not to serve a form or to try and attempt a conversion is actually driven by some of the engagement data that you've seen historically, looking at where people typically do convert or what seems to be successful on particular assets. You can use that information to make a data-first decision about when you want to try to get that conversion point, and the flexibility for you to move it one asset down or 10 seconds longer can be easily achieved in the platform and rolled out in near real time, so you don't have to wait for releases to make changes. If you know something's not working or the bounce rate's really high and you want to pull that form off, if you're looking at it and monitoring it, you can make that change pretty quickly.
Brilliant. Okay, I think that probably covers all the questions that we've had in. I've got one question. Where can we get that recipe book from?
You can get it from Amazon.com. It's called the Effortless Sous Vide Cookbook. Yeah, it's been a wild ride on that for sure.
Brilliant. Okay, so let me wrap up, and we'll give you some of your day back, I think, for the people online. But thank you again, Kerry, for doing that presentation. Very interesting. Thanks to everyone online for attending. We will be sending out a recording of the webinar, so if you do need to go back and look at some of those slides that Kerry presented, you'll be able to do that. But apart from that, thank you for attending and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.